RoboTaxi Package. Tesla flips that switch. What happens then? Hey YouTube, it's been a little while since I've made a video, and one of the ideas that I've been kicking around in my head is the idea about what it's actually going to take to get Tesla vehicles currently equipped with full self-driving to a point where they can actually be utilized as a robotaxi. I think this isn't something a lot of people have talked about, and I've spent a good amount of time thinking about it because I think Tesla likely has a strategy that they're going to employ, and current state today, all vehicles that have the full self-driving package, that's a software package that you're basically purchasing as a bet on the future that Tesla is going to be able to pull off what they call level 5 autonomy. Level 5 autonomy is where the car is able to fully drive itself with absolutely no human intervention needed at any point in time. At that point, you can essentially get rid of the pedals, get rid of the steering wheel, and the car will drive itself in all conditions. Say that we're on software beta version 13 or 14, and the neural network has figured it out. It clicked, and it just figured out how to fully represent everything given all the different cameras on the car, all the sensors, the radar, and it's driving flawlessly and as good as you would expect a human to drive. Okay, Tesla flips that switch, it turns on autonomous driving, it allows you to sign up and become a robotaxi. What happens then? Are these vehicles truly ready to go drive themselves, right? It's a lot different than an Uber when you don't have a human kind of overseeing that process. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I realized there are actually quite a few things that need to be modified on the vehicle to truly have a situation that would make sense for the vehicle to drive itself and not have to have a human come in and intervene and assist, right? So first and foremost, you have people coming in and out of the car. It's going to pick up someone like it would if it were a Lyft or an Uber. They get out of the car, they go to close the door. Oh, the door doesn't close all the way. Well, what happens? There's no driver. The car can't shut the door. I guess the point I'm getting to is that there's going to be a RoboTaxi package that they're going to resell all of the folks that have bought full self-driving beta. So from anyone who's bought a Model 3 and then a Model Y, those tend to be the vehicles that are most poised to be turned into the robotaxis. The Model S and the Model X, most of those have quite a bit older hardware. More of the fleet of Model 3s and all of the Model Ys have the full suite of software and hardware in them to eventually be turned into robotaxis. But is that actually true? I think that is true for full self-driving, but I think Tesla is going to offer a robotaxi upgrade package. If I had to make a prediction, it would be anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000 in addition to what you've paid for full self-driving. And what that would get us would be on all 4 doors, you would have actuators and motors that would auto open and auto close all the doors. So now you have that passenger that left the vehicle, they didn't successfully close the door. Well, the door can now open itself and reset and close the door fully and snugly to lock and close. Another thing that I've noticed while driving and using full self-driving on the highway or through the city is that I live in a cold climate. I live in Chicago. Whenever there's snow or a big splash of water, or you get a big chunk of this slushy snow on there and it obstructs the camera and it's not going to be able to see. And it's one thing if it gets obstructed and I'm using the vehicle in full self-driving and the car just can't handle it anymore. It's like, hey, you got to get out, you got to stop the car, and you got to clear the debris off the camera. If that happens in a robotaxi, there's no human. I guess it could ask the passenger to do that, but I think included in this maybe $5,000 to $9,000 package would be, I think it would be like little wipers. So you would basically swap out either swap out the camera unit or just the lens and the glass, and they would have to have cleaners on them, essentially, just like windshield wipers. Like, it would need to have that in order to ensure that, given no driver in the car, or maybe the robotaxi's in between rides and there's no passenger to assist, the cameras get obstructed or clouded by snow or ice or what have you, they'd need to be heated, and they would need to have potentially a wiper, like a mini wiper blade on them. Something else that's going to need to happen is, and I think included in that package will be access to exclusive supercharger stations that have the robot arm. I would assume they're going to be V3 superchargers so they can fast charge your vehicle when it's out making money for you. Whether it's version 2, 3, or 4, they would include the robot snake arms. So there's actually video online. Elon Musk has talked about this and Tesla has talked about this. They actually have in development a robot snake arm that would basically approximate a plug and then plug into the vehicle on its own. So, right, they're not going to necessarily just offer that for free at all charging stations. I think eventually the fleet of charging stations, maybe ones that are more associated closer to service centers, will be changed over to the snake model. But I think initially that $6,000 to $9,000 upcharge for the RoboTaxi in part be funding the rollout of the snake automated snake robot charger. Maybe also included in that price would be the ability for Teslas to once or twice a day, a specific division of a service center where they would be able to get a clean inside the vehicle. Or maybe it would have like partnerships with local car cleaning companies where the Teslas could drive in and they would get like reimbursed for a fee. Cleaning companies would be rewarded by just like the bulk amount of cars that are coming through. Most of the time the cleanup would be really nominal, like it'd be very quick, maybe just a quick vacuum and wipe down some surfaces, and say that you've got a high volume of that for a low fee all day every day. It's keeping you busy with most of the time like a low effort of cleaning. And then other times obviously you're going to have that drunk person who passes out and throws up in the car, and there's going to be a much more heavy lift in terms of that cleaning service. And then maybe it's able to charge that out to the customer. Those are just a few things that I've been thinking about and they've been on my mind. This is all conjecture, this is just in my head. Like, it makes sense that you have to have all of these things to have any of these vehicles truly go and drive for you. Yeah, there's a lot of kinks to work out, and I think some of those kinks aren't going to be Tesla just offering you free to say, hey, you bought this full self-driving, we talked about a RoboTaxi and the ability to turn that on. We never said turn that on for free. And with all these like small edge cases that we have to solve for, we'd like you to pay us a little more money up front to be able to take part in our network. And then eventually that's going to pay back in spades if you really do go and rent your car out and have it go out and make money for you. And I think it'll be well worth the investment. You figure if you're able to have your car drive maybe 12 to 14,000 miles a year when you're not using it, and maybe it's charging $1 a mile for that, and you're getting 70% of that back. So you're making 10 grand in a year. So you do that for a couple years, you've paid off the full self-driving, you've more than paid off the RoboTaxi package, and now you're making pure profit and you're not doing anything, right? If you work an office job and you go to the office and then your car is parked downtown and you rent it out as a RoboTaxi for 4.5 hours and it's there for you by the time you need to commute home, like, that's brilliant. It's going to be game changing. And I think strangely it's going to be this weird structure where it's going to compete heavily with Uber and Lyft, and there are going to be some people that still prefer Uber and Lyft, but S-rate adoption, right? The more people that try it, the more people that have a friend that calls one and they get in with it and they try it and they realize like, oh, it's a cheaper option and why not? It's going to be like early adopters at first, and then it's going to have this really high rate of adoption, and then there's going to be a few stragglers at the end that just don't want to give up. But the other thing it's going to do is that while you're increasing all those proportion of people that are using these autonomous vehicles, you've also probably got less people buying Teslas themselves outright, because the cost of ownership equation starts to not make as much sense unless you're going to further invest in the full self-driving and the RoboTaxi packages. And so then maybe you just forego trying to buy a vehicle for your own personal use at all, especially when the RoboTaxi service starts widening and it doesn't just urban centers and metros and go and take it rural, or rent like, hey, I rather than just a RoboTaxi for a trip from here to Target, I want to be able to have a Tesla available to drive me around nonstop for a 4-day weekend. We're gonna take some friends and do an Airbnb in a quaint cabin in the woods in Wisconsin, and we want to take it for a long weekend. Yeah, maybe you just pay a $30, $40 fee, cheaper than renting a vehicle, but then it's going to take you mileage and then charge you a little bit of mileage over that. That seems like a super attractive option. And then you don't have to be the one driving on your road trip. You get to like be in the car with your friends, playing music, playing video games on your phone. The car's driving itself. There's some real upside and real potential that it just really it changes the game as much as we all know. And the dynamics of driving won't ever be the same. And for all of us that have been paying attention, we all know that that's the name of the game with Tesla, is innovation, disruption. So I hope this video was enjoyable to watch. If so, please hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to be making more content, and your support is really appreciated. I'm trying to make this channel grow, and hopefully you can tell I'm really passionate. So liking the video obviously puts it higher in the algorithm, and subscribing, it really would mean a lot to me. So please do that, and stay tuned for the next video. Everyone take care, stay safe, get vaccinated. All right, bye.